What's up, guys? This is Insidious Purple. Okay, and right now I'm doing one of my favorite characters. I like him because he's a challenge to do, right? Figure out how to make this guy good. Even though he's not as good as he was in Mass Effect 3, where you could just constantly get off multiple explosions. Because Shockwave, I mean, that's the main thing. Shockwave had a faster recharge speed. So you could just constantly get biotic explosion after biotic explosion. But in this game, Shockwave has a longer recharge speed. So trying to come up with a build for him, kind of a bit of a challenge. He is good though. He is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and get into what I have for him. And the human adept, I just use the Talon because it's lightweight and it does a lot of damage. That's basically it. And adaptive war amp to get as much biotic damage as possible. In my showcases, I don't use boosters, but here is the build. I opt out of pull, so I'm going to skip that. Singularity. I go for as much. I go for duration, effect radius. Well, not duration. So I go for the maximum amount of radius as possible, and then I got the radius over 200%. The whole idea is to affect as many enemies within an area as possible. So as long as um, as long as it keeps going, it'll increase by 200%, and enemies will be affected in prime for biotic explosions, and the more explosions you can get off. I mean, the alternative is this. I mean 350 damage isn't bad damage, but with the recharge time on this, which is like 24 seconds base, I was managed. That's another thing, is trying to reduce the recharge time as much as possible. I got it down to 18 seconds, but yeah, I mean, with the recharge time, that's not going to be very good. You just want to set it out and get as much out of it as possible. Shockwave, I go for radius and distance, and then go for priming enemies for biotic explosions. That's what I think is the best for Shockwave. The difference between the recharge speed is about 2 or 3 seconds. Not really worth it though. You get way more out of it if you just simply go for the distance and radius. Okay, for this, I try to get this recharge speed to get as much recharge speed as possible. Defense debuff from biotic effects, that allows my singularity. That's why having the radius is really good in the expansion over 200% over styriation. That's why that's really good, because now I can actually debuff the defense of enemies, and I can, when I shoot them with my talent, it does more damage. I wouldn't worry too much about combos. So biotic, this is a good one as well. That way you can throw out singularity and then throw out a shockwave, and it'll do a lot more damage. You can get more. You can basically get more biotic damage out of it. But I did this mainly so I could get more damage from singularity as much as possible. Shockwave and then singularity. So that's what I was going for though. Barrier, like I said, this was just a better alternative overall than to put points in the pool. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I had for that one. Max shields, I go for max health, and this one's really important too. Your shields restore. Every 10 seconds you can do this. Your shields restore automatically when they're broken, so that's not too bad. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and get into the gameplay. This character is really, he's not a character you can just run in and run and gun, but I'll talk more about that during the gameplay. Alright, see you there.
Enemies incoming.
Okay, so here we are with the human Adept, and we are doing a gold match, and I believe this is against the Outlaws. Alright, yes, and that is correct. It is gold against the outlaws. Now with the, as you can see, singularity is really good. Alright. Even if it can't pick up armor targets or targets with shields, it can at least prime them for biotic explosions. So that's really good for that, you know? And for the most part, he also gets shockwave, so you can throw it out, get behind the wall, and then shoot out the shockwave and get the biotic explosions. And he can get multiple biotic explosions, so the more enemies that you hit with singularity, the more explosions you're gonna get. So that's why that's good. And plus, I also like to get as much damage, biotic damage, as possible with singularity, because it does do damage over time. It doesn't do anything major, but you know, every small thing makes a difference, especially when you can just throw out singularity and then start shooting your target. And I do that later on in this video when I'm fighting a Hydra. I shoot out the singularity, get a biotic explosion. It's still gonna have a lot of health, but then I start shooting it with my pistol, and that combined with the damage over time, it all adds up. You know, it all makes a difference. So, in addition to that, he also gets pull. Pull is not such a great power when it comes to armor and shields. It can't really do much to those guys, but I can say for certain that it can work to stun them. It doesn't do any damage to them at all. It doesn't pick them up like it does enemies that are not armored. So it is limited use, but you can get some use out of it. I believe Shockwave is like one of the best biotic powers in the game. Hands down, it is one of the best biotic powers in the game. Like I said, go for radius, go for range. You can just throw it through walls, through the floor, and you can just hit a whole bunch of shit. Seriously, it's a really good power. Okay, so with pull, you can also pull enemies without shields or without armor, and non-boss enemies, and you can shockwave them and get off a biotic explosion. So you can throw away enemies, kind of like the human kineticist a little bit. So that's pretty cool. Also, he also gets the evolution in his in his fitness. I think it's called like biotic, and then his basically his training is the offensive biotic. So basically in his fitness, he gets this is a very important upgrade to get. He gets the upgrade where if your health is below 20%, that's what it, if your health is below 20%, it will basically fully regen your shields. So that just increases the survivability of this character. And as you can see, the way I'm using him is I'm moving around quite a bit, throwing out singularity, throwing out a shockwave, getting a biotic explosion, shooting them a couple of times, and then I move on. You know, it's best not to just stay there in one spot, especially with the Krogans. They take a while to kill. And he's really good with a good biotic team. Heck, he's good with any type of team that can detonate explosions. So he has a good primer. He has one of the best detonators in the game, Shockwave. Singularity is a great primer, especially for biotic explosions. It's like one of the only powers, long-range powers, since they don't have warp or read. It's practically the only long-range power that can prime enemies for biotic explosions. So it's really good for that matter. The other power that can set up for biotic explosions is Annihilation Field. And quite honestly, it's good, but you still have to get up close. You have to get in. You have to be out in the open, get in within range, unless the enemy comes up to you while you're in cover. So you have to go to the enemy basically in order to get that to work. With Singularity, you don't. It does have quite a bit of a long recharge time, but it is a really good power though. No doubt, no doubt. With that, that's pretty much all there is to the showcase for the human adept. You know, like there's not really much else to really explain about him, to be honest. Overall, he's a good character. You have to move around quite a bit. I mean, you're not just gonna run up to enemies and just, you know, annihilate shit hands down like you could with the Krogan Vanguard. You can just run up and just run into a bunch of enemies and kill them all. Yeah, you're not going to be doing that with the human adept. But he does have good survivability. He can move around quite a bit, and he can get off biotic explosions, a lot of them. So, honestly, I think Singularity is definitely one of the best powers in the game, honestly. But it does have some limitations, some things that are not appealing about it. The worst thing is obviously the recharge time, and it is a really good power, so I guess that's why they did that. So yeah, for the most part, that is my showcase. This is my showcase for the human adept, and for the most part, that's pretty much me explaining the build in a nutshell. Alright, enemies with shields who don't have armor, and I think only the destroyer is like that, no other enemies like that. So pretty much the strategy is shoot down their shields, pull them and make them vulnerable, shoot them to death, Singularity, and then start shooting enemies, reduce their shields if they have any, and then make them vulnerable to Singularity. You know, and then you can just shoot them while they're in midair after you know, throw out your shockwave and get off a biotic explosion. And even so, you can just use shockwave just to hit enemies past walls. It's actually good just if you don't have any enemies immediately in your area. You know, just throw the shockwave out. You have the range, you have the reach, just throw it out. Get some damage off, get some initial hits in. And then, you know, eventually it'll put you at a good advantage, you know? So, yeah, that's pretty much my review for the human adept. Okay, so very good character, very decent character. It takes a while to get him to a point where he'll be as effective as you see in this video, but at the end of the day, he's well worth it. Alright, so I'll leave you guys with the rest of this video, and I'm just gonna kind of move out of the way and allow you guys just to enjoy the rest of this video. So if you guys like my content, please subscribe, and if you also like it, go ahead and share it with a friend as well. Leave a like, please hit the like button. And this has been Insidious Purple, and I am out. See you later.
Apex. Keep it going.
We're good.
Enemies triangulating our nearest outpost. Find their sensor arrays and get them.
Hydra ahead! I hear you.
One device down. One problem gone.
Lost shield!
Teammate injured. Nearly through. All enemy devices shut down. Good job.
Hydra ahead!
Just 3 hostiles remaining. Enemies down. Keep your guard up. Time to go. Get to the extraction site. I'm reading a flat line. Teammate injured. Squad member down. I'm reading a flat line.
Hydra ahead! No shields!
That's how Apex gets it done. Come on home.